There's something they don't usually teach you in screenwriting, and that is how to write a starring role. I'm not just talking about a lead role, a starring role that will really attract talent. And if you want your screenplay financed, you're gonna have to attract talent. And I've had the fortune to work with celebrities, and I have friends who've also worked with A-list celebrities, and I can share with you what we have learned to really make sure you are writing starring roles. Let's say you are writing a screenplay and your lead character is a CEO of a company that designs apps. And the app they're coming out with is a dating app for dogs. It's called Paw Right. And their competition is Rover, although it's kind of more for hookups and not real relationships. The scene that you want to write is your CEO finds out that Rover is going to come out in 2 days. So he makes the decision that they're going to spend all night working on Paw Right and have it come out tomorrow. Let's say you have your scene play out like this.
The Rover app is coming out in 2 days. Damn it. Listen up, people. No one's going home tonight. Paw Right is coming out tomorrow. It's gonna be a long night.
So here's the problem with this scene from a starring role angle. The very first character that we saw in this scene was not our star. It was the secretary. Then it was the secretary who discovered the problem. The secretary went and told our lead, and our lead just sat there and passively found out what was happening. In the middle, they take over and they make an executive decision and they drive the story forward by saying what's going to happen next. But then at the end of the scene, it was another character who got the last line. At the beginning of the scene, we didn't have our star. And at the end of the scene, we didn't have our star. So what's another way you could do this to make sure you keep this a starring role?
Our stock just took a nosedive. What's happening? Anything on our Twitter? Nothing. Our Facebook? Just the usual. Check Rover's Twitter. They just announced their app is coming out in 2 days. Damn it. All right, no one's going home tonight. Paw Right is coming out tomorrow. It's gonna be a long night, people.
Okay, this is still not an amazing, great scene, but there was no reason for us to focus on the secretary in the beginning. Our lead could have found out this information. So if we focus on our lead, he discovers that the stock went down and he has to do some work. He has to investigate. And then he's active in the middle. And then instead of giving the last line to just a stray person, the lead got the last lines. Let's look at Silence of the Lambs. The scene where Clarice sees the victim's body and they discovered that there is a butterfly cocoon in the mouth. They don't know it's a butterfly cocoon at the time, but they just know there's something there. Now let's look at the really non-starring role scene version you could do of this. You could have Clarice called to Crawford's office, and Crawford just tells her, they found the body and they found something in the mouth. I want you to go find out what it is. She doesn't get any lines. She's not driving anything forward. She's not doing anything. So that's like the extra non-starring role version. Then there would be the step above that where she's a little more active. Let's say she's in the room, but let's say you write the scene where she's just standing there while she observes them seeing the body, and then she just watches them take the cocoon out of the mouth. You might think, there's my star, she's there, she's watching everything, she's in the mix. Not a starring role scene. So they did it right in the actual movie. They had her actively doing something, not just standing there watching things happen. So the scene plays out. Clarice is actually talking into a recorder. She's describing the issues that were with the body that could be pertinent later on about what happened, how this girl died. And then she is the one that finds the cocoon in the mouth.
She's got something in her throat.
She found it. So that is how you make a starring role. She's active, she's doing something, she's the one that finds the evidence, She doesn't just learn the information. Things to keep in mind when you're really writing starring roles. Try and keep the point of view of your piece on your lead as much as possible. Don't go shelling out to other scenes here and there. Follow that character, follow this character over here, follow that character over there. If you really need to, because it's pertinent to what's going to happen to the lead. Like in Star Wars, if we have Leia recording the message to Obi-Wan that we know Luke is later gonna find, that's okay. But don't just do it because you're just not thinking and you're just saying, oh, this information has to be found. I'll just have this side character find out the information and then bring it to our lead. No, as much as possible, have the focus of your story be on that lead character. Try to have them in every scene if you can. I've had work go to reps and a manager said, no, we can't have this for my client because I had a dual point of view. It was a romantic comedy and it followed the guy and the girl and they wanted to have only the girl. And this isn't just about the stars being attracted to your material. Whoever reads this, whether it's a manager or an agent or even a producer, you're gonna make a lead role that just pops a little bit more, feels a little more strong. We're more in that character's shoes. It's gonna make the story better as well. Try as much as possible to have them be the first character in the scene. Again, if you can't, it just doesn't work out that way, that's great. But if you can, they're the first character we see in the scene and also get the last line of the scene. You don't want them just standing there doing nothing while somebody else has a really cool line, and or they're at least the last shot of the scene. When you first introduce your character, give them a really grand, grabby, they were doing something entrance. Let's say your lead character is on a plane and they're freaking out because they have a fear of flying and they think the plane is gonna go down. Well, if you started the movie with not the lead, but let's say the buddy of the lead, saying, you know, dude, it's okay, we're not gonna crash, the plane is gonna be fine. And then you finally have your lead go, no, I think it's gonna go down, we're all gonna die, blah, blah, blah. You gave the buddy the first line of the whole movie and your lead didn't get this amazing introduction. If you just start your whole movie with the lead freaking out, we're all gonna die, this plane's going down, that's a much more dramatic entrance for your lead. So try to make sure your lead is the first character introduced in the movie or as close to the first, and then really give them a great intro. Don't have the first thing they say, oh, thank you, when someone hands them their coffee in the morning. Then also, as much as possible, have them do the work, the heavy lifting. And one more little thing to watch out for when you're creating starring roles. Be really careful about your lead character falling apart into sobbing all over the place, boo-hoo, tears, woe is me. As long as your character has hope and they're still pushing forward and there's still some momentum, they're still carrying the story. But if they just kind of fall apart in a puddle, oh, woe is me, and lose it, then you've kind of lost them. There's more than one way to have sadness. If you think, well, you know, someone they know died, so they have to fall apart and cry. Maybe, and sometimes when the character cries, we won't. It's not quite as sad. So let's look at two examples. Here is in The Walking Dead, where Rick learns that Lori died. Sobbing, fall down into the fetal position, crying. He's kind of lost it. And that isn't the only way you have to do it. You can have characters still be sad, but you can do it in a more subtle way where they don't just fall apart. Compare that to the beginning of Up, where the dear, sweet little old man loses his wife. If you can watch this and not cry, you are not human. It's so touching and so wonderful, and your lead character did not fall on the floor sobbing in tears. You can have characters get really, really mad, angry, somehow give them forward momentum, but not. Those are some things to keep in mind when you are writing your script. Make sure you have starring roles. They're the first one introduced in your story if you can do that. They have a dramatic opening that is exciting. They're not just saying thank you for my coffee. They're the first one in a scene if you can. If you can't, that's okay. They're active, they're doing something, they're making things happen. They have the last line of the scene if you can do that and you didn't have them fall apart on the floor in the fetal. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Bye.